Picture arriving in Indianapolis on a bright July morning, greeted by a massive 34-story mural of Caitlin Clark beaming from the side of the JW Marriott. The city pulses with energy. Souvenir stands spill onto the sidewalks. Hotel lobbies loop her highlight reels non-stop, and every lamppost on Georgia Street flaunts the proud slogan, "From downtown in my town." For a moment, it feels like basketball paradise. But the magic doesn't last. On July 17th, a single push notification breaks. The illusion: Clark is out of the WNBA All Star Game, just 48 hours away, sidelined by an aggravated groin injury.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped by 50%.
In real time, the collapse is visible. Ticketmaster dashboards flash red, resale prices plunge, and local shop owners stare at their phones in stunned disbelief. By evening, tickets that once soared past $120 are barely holding at $64. And still, dropping what was meant to be a crowning moment for a surging league has instead turned into a harsh reminder of how fragile momentum can be when just one superstar is suddenly sidelined.
From $121 all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She is injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for 80? Okay, I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy it to 70? I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends, and they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth to this league.
Heading into the weekend, league officials were riding a wave of historic success. 10 consecutive nationally televised games had topped 1 million viewers. The Indiana Fever were selling out every home game, and All-Star tickets on the secondary market were commanding their NBA prices. This wasn't just hype. TickPick reported an average resale price of $262, the highest ever recorded in WNBA history. In response, city leaders went all in, setting up pop-up courts at the airport, adding extra shuttle routes, and even extending bar hours to meet the moment.
The ticket prices, the demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
In essence, Indianapolis went in on the Clark effect, much like Silicon Valley throws its weight behind a unicorn IPO, full of confidence and high expectations. But beneath the celebration lurked a fragile equation. The league's marquee moment hinged on a single player battling a lingering lower body strain in a season growing more physical by the week. Fans and analysts had already raised alarms, pointing out how referees were allowing defenders to rough up ball handlers with little consequence. The fuse had been lit.
Really unfortunate that Caitlin Clark missed it. The crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far as the WNBA is concerned.
Clark's withdrawal turned speculation into reality. Within 6 hours of the injury announcement, SeatGeek recorded a staggering 48% drop in ticket prices. TickPick shared side-by-side screenshots $121/$264 that spread across social media faster than a Steph Curry heat check. Sellers who had once hoped to flip tickets for tuition cash were now scrambling in Reddit threads, posting messages like, "We'll eat fees, DM me." It wasn't just the price collapse that stunned people, it's the velocity. Earlier dip.
But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy.
The All-Star collapse unfolded in the span of a lunch break. Analysts at Front Office Sports later compared it to a NASDAQ flash, crash panic-driven, worsened by sudden illiquidity. By Friday morning, entire seating sections at Gainbridge Fieldhouse were wide open, with ushers waving in walk-up buyer, something unseen in Indianapolis since the Fever drafted Clark 15 months earlier. The message from the market was clear and unforgiving. Take away the headliner, and the main event loses its main attraction.
This year, for the second time ever, the WNBA All Star Game was supposed to feature an actual star. Normally, this celebration of pretend basketball features players that no one's ever heard of.
Why such a dramatic reaction? Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's a rising tide lifting the entire league. Nielsen's mid-season report found her name in 43% of all WNBA-related social media posts. When the Fever play on the road, average attendance spikes by 6,008, swing matched only by the Miami Heat's Big 3 ERA. In 2010, Fanatics reports that Clark-branded merchandise outsells the next 4 WNBA players combined. Sponsors treat her highlights like power surging through the grid, and local economies feel the voltage. But here's what has coaches fuming. This injury was no surprise. Fever head coach Stephanie White had been sounding the alarm for months, warning that officials were letting defenders rough up Clark in ways no other player faces. Data collected by kinesiologist Lucas Cuffer backs her up, showing a clear pattern of disproportionate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. We've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
So far this season, WNBA rosters have been hit with 141 reportable injuries, 57 of them to the head or neck, disproportionately affecting guards. Caitlin Clark has borne more than her share of the punishment. Last year alone, she absorbed 20% of all flagrant fouls league-wide. This season,
how did we get to an all-star game in Indiana where Caitlin Clark is not healthy enough to play? Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on.
On the national broadcast, Rebecca Lobo's frustration bled through the mic as she audibly groaned, "That's a foul. That's a foul." While watching
the ball handler, there's a grab, there's a hold, there's another grab. I mean, all of those are fouls. Every single one of them. And here, that's a foul, and finally they call.
The optics are troubling. Just as the league is breaking into the mainstream sports conversation, it's also offering a product that, at times, looks more like roller derby than professional basketball. When the game's brightest, new star spends more time wincing from hits than sprinting off pin downs. It's a clear sign something's broken. What's been built is a flawed incentive structure.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call absolutely nothing.
Inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the fallout was swift and visible. Concessionaires who had tripled their pastry orders stood helplessly as racks of unsold sugar cream squares piled up. Pop-up merch booths featuring limited edition Team Clark vs Team Collier jerseys quietly slashed prices by 40% before tip-off. Local brewers who'd banked on Cannerly's parties watched foot traffic drop by a third. Beyond the arena, boutique hotels along the canal reported a wave of same-day cancellations. Families who had booked weekend packages were now checking out by Saturday morning. The ripple effect wasn't confined to small businesses. The league itself lost out on high-dollar appearance fees and activations built around Clark's star power. What was expected to be a $25 million economic windfall, city economists now estimate will land closer to $15 million, a $10 million gap that may dampen civic enthusiasm for hosting future mega events. So how did Commissioner Kathy Engelbert respond? At her Saturday press conference, she highlighted constructive dialogue with more than 40 players. noted that no one is ever happy with officiating and quickly shifted to sponsor shoutouts. When pressed for specifics whether that meant more referees, expanded replay, or a centralized flagrant foul review system, reporters got little more than vague promises about putting the best.
I know as a fan of sports for 60 years now, I know that, no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court, and our officiating then follows that.
Outside the press room, scrum, veteran guard Natasha Cloud didn't hold back, rolling her eyes and saying, "We don't need corporate, we need whistles." Her blunt frustration echoed the sentiment spreading fast across social media, where hashtags like #ProtectTutu and #FixTheREFS trended throughout the weekend. The league's tone-deaf response only amplified fan outrage. Commissioner Engelbert's unwillingness to draw a clear line between safety and spectacle is now making sponsors uneasy. Brand managers might tolerate controversy, but they won't invest in a league that visibly fails to protect its biggest star. The commissioner's challenge has shifted.
I mean, you're going to mess around, and a large, massive group of fans are going to be like, enough is enough. We've never had to see anything like it in sports, but you don't see these other leagues going around talking crazy about their fan bases all the time, like this league does. It's continuous. They're running their mouth about the people that are paying money to see them. You don't have other jobs where people walk up. You're in a public job that's in front of the world.
Strip away the all-star branding, and what's left is a fundamental question. Can a league truly scale when its entire business model leans on one superstar? This isn't a knock on Caitlin Clark. Michael Jordan carried the NBA through the early 90s. Tiger Woods single-handedly revived golf ratings. Conor McGregor dragged UFC into the mainstream, but those leagues evolved. They built infrastructural protections, marketing pipelines, and revenue-sharing models to ensure the product didn't collapse when the headliner couldn't go. Now, the WNBA, fresh off its first taste of mass-market, the same growing pains. Expansion teams are coming. Broadcast rights are up for renewal. The current CBA expires on October 31st, and labor leaders are already warning. If investment in player safety and compensation doesn't match the surge in viewership, a work stoppage is on the table. The WNBA's moment in the spotlight is real, fragile, and without clear action, the economic ground it stands on could erode quickly. Here's what needs to happen. First, call contact consistently, early, and across the board. Analysts estimate that a 12 to 15% increase in foul calls could significantly reduce collision impacts, without slowing the game down. Second, expand game day rosters from 11 to 13 players and mandate charter flights league-wide. Fatigue leads to injury. Travel strain breaks bodies. Third, implement a transparent injury reporting system and officiating accountability model, similar to the NBA's last 2-minute reports. Let fans and players see what's being done, not just hear vague promises. Fourth, decentralize star marketing. Players like Paige Buchers, Aaliyah Boston, and Juju Watkins already have national reach. Elevate them so every broadcast has an A-list storyline, not just Clark or bust. Fifth, structure local economic activations and sponsorships with contingency planning tiered protections for small vendors if a marquee player is suddenly ruled out. That's how you build trust that lasts beyond one star's status. None of these measures cost as much as the credibility the league just lost, and with each day of inaction, the risk grows that fans start to treat the W like an unstable ticket price, something to unload the moment the main event changes. Yes, the All-Star game went on. There were fireworks, a 4-point shot gimmick, a mascot feud, and Nafisa Collier hoisting the MVP crystal. On any other weekend, those might have trended, but this time, the loudest moment came from the empty seats. They asked a simple question, again and again. What good is momentum if your biggest star can't stay healthy enough to play? The answer will shape the next decade of women's basketball. Fans have shown they'll buy in, they'll travel, they'll fill arenas and chant until they're hoarse, but only if the league shows equal commitment to protecting the players who inspire them. If you care about the future of the W, demand better. Tweet the clips, tag the sponsors, email the commissioner. Celebrate the growth, but refuse to accept a status quo that sidelines superstars for preventable reasons. Because the message from Indianapolis couldn't be clearer. Without action, the boom can bust overnight. With action, the WNBA could turn today's cautionary tale into tomorrow's blueprint for how to get it right.